Hello, my name is Rob Zalek from Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. If you've read Jim Rogers' newest book, just came out, called Street Smarts, you'll see that he tells everybody to get into agriculture. And he says that there is going to be a shortage of food. Now, one of the problems today is how to grow food without the use of pesticides. About 30 years ago, my gifted students solved this problem, and I'm going to share with you the little-known solution of getting trees to grow faster, sturdier, with much less use of water. You can cut down watering the tree to about 1/10 using this method. And you will be able to save trees that have been deemed to be practically dead by tree experts. This actually happened to me and my students some 30 years ago. And if you use Google Maps Street Views to look up the maple trees on Bow Beaches Boulevard in Mississauga, you will see that in the neighborhood of 1997 Bow Beaches Boulevard, there is a singular and very peculiar maple tree that is 3 times bigger than all the other maple trees on the street. Now, that particular maple tree is the one that my gifted students treated some 30 years ago, and it has also been struck by a car. It was hit by a car which demolished the front end of the car and barely put a dent on the tree. About 3 houses down, a similar tree, which was not treated by my students, was struck by a tree and completely cut down and had to be replaced. That's why it is much smaller. Now, this method of treating the tree is very inexpensive. It can save trees or even entire orchards from drought. And I'm going to explain to you how it is done, and you can do it for yourself. Very simple. And also, what I should also mention that one of the students who did this with me was recognized by the U.S. Department of Agriculture and even received coverage for his experimental work as in magazines as far away as Scotland. Anyway, so it's rather simple, and anybody can do this. So what you need is a deep root feeder that is approximately 3 to 4 feet long. You attach a deep root feeder to a water hose, and you punch the deep root feeder while running the water into the ground at the tree line. A tree line meaning where the edge of the the branches of the leaves, the branches of the tree, excuse me, the branches of the trees, where the branches of the trees are, that's the tree line. So for example, if the tree is let's say 20 feet in diameter, so you would punch holes where at the edge of those branches, and you need approximately 8 of these holes at say for a tree that's perhaps 40 feet tall. And once you've reached, once you managed to use your deep root feeder down to the bottom, then you load in some fertilizers. And you load in some fertilizers that is suitable for that tree. I also recommend the worm castings on top of it. And now on top of that, there is a third technique which is electronic in nature, and this is based on the Schumann frequency. Schumann is spelled S-C-H-U-M-A-N-N. The Schumann frequency is a frequency of the Earth, and the Japanese in 1997 discovered that our cells, our own human cells, have a microscopic engine, and the engine or motor, it's an electric motor. It's the smallest electric motor in nature. This is an actual electric motor in our cells, and it runs the ATP, which is the molecule in our bodies that provide us with energy. The ATP is driven by this microscopic electric motor in our cells. And guess what? This electric motor is operating at the Schumann frequency, approximately 8 revolutions per minute. So now what you need is an electronic device. This is optional. You don't need to do this unless you have the means to do this. But if you can get a device that will pulse the earth, that tree, at 8 pulses per second. I'm sorry, I made a mistake when I mentioned the RPM of the ATP motor. It's 8 cycles per second, or 8 hertz. So now what you need to do is also pulse this tree, especially if you have a dying tree. A dying tree needs to have an enhanced signal. So you pulse this tree with a nanocurrents device at 8 hertz, approximately 8 hertz, and you will enhance the life of this tree, just like you will enhance the life of any living being by an 8 hertz electric signal. It has to be a microcurrent signal. This is not a lot of amps or watts. This is a very, very, very minute, very tiny electric signal. Anyway, so those are the things that you need to do, and if you do this, you'll be able to enhance your trees, your fruit trees, and grow stuff a lot faster. Now, at the same house there at 1997 Bow Beaches Boulevard, I recall that there were 2 birch trees that were infested with leaf miner and had been deemed to be unsalvageable by several tree experts. I think there was three different tree experts were called, or tree doctors, and they said that the leaf miner was just too there was just too much of a leaf miner, and it could not be saved without massive spraying. Those 2 birch trees were saved without the use of pesticides by the same deep root feeding technique, and also there was a freestone peach on the side of the house that was also going to be cut down, and that was also saved. And more than that, the freestone peach tree produced an enormous crop of peach trees for a long time. And at the front of the house, there used to be an Italian plum tree that produced enormous fruits after it was treated. That tree is no longer there. It was, and also in the back there were several apple trees that grew straight up, and I think they were 40 feet tall. They didn't look like normal apple trees because they were growing straight up. And so this technique works, and it's very inexpensive, and you can save entire orchards with this. Now, unfortunately, this is a side anecdote. I've been to the agricultural awards, British Columbia Agricultural Awards, and talked to actual fruit tree farmers, and their problem is a little bit different here. The problem in British Columbia is an overabundance of seasonal fruit, and the farmers say that there's actually too much fruit, and they do not need anything else that produces more fruit in British Columbia. So go figure. Perhaps this will work in some other parts of the world where there is no, there isn't an overabundance of this type of fruit. And yeah, so that's the information. And this is Robert Zalek from British Columbia in Vancouver, Canada. And thanks very much to Jim Rogers for this wonderful book. I also recommend this book to anybody who is, who wants to know how the finance of the world is run or mismanaged. Bye for now.